Hello everyone, Ogre27 Kane here today, and we're going to do my top 10 Nintendo Switch ports. Now these are my top 10 ports that impressed me the most, not necessarily in terms of whether I enjoyed these or were they my favorite games, just moreover a list of games that really impressed me on how well they came out on the Switch. So, let's start out with number 10, Xenoblade Chronicles, the Definitive Edition. This game started out on the Wii, and I actually own that version and it was really good. It then got ported to the 3DS, in which it was downscaled, and then later on, most recently, got ported to the Nintendo Switch, where it was upscaled. This upscaled version is a lot better. Not only did they upscale the resolution, but they enhanced all of the textures, and they streamlined a lot of the gameplay itself too. So the game not only is more beautiful, but is functionally more sound as well. There's a lot of ups to buying this version of the game instead of the Wii one. On top of that, it's a lot cheaper right now too. A little side note is, although the gameplay looks like an MMO style RPG, it has one of the best stories you will ever find in an RPG, so I can't recommend this game enough. It's a fantastic port and a fantastic game on top of that. This game was made by Monolith Software, which is one of Nintendo's best studios. They also included a DLC on board as well, which adds a lot more to the story and connects the later ones that are both on the Switch as well. So, once again, there's a lot to add to this version that makes it superior to its original. Let's do number 9 now, Resident Evil Revelations. Well, this game originally started out on the Nintendo 3DS. And then it was upscaled and ported to the Nintendo Wii U, the Xbox 360, and the PlayStation 3. I believe PlayStation 4 as well. I don't know about the Xbox One, but I know it's playable on there. On top of that, this game is absolutely gorgeous. It's probably the best looking game on the 3DS, and when they upscaled it and ported it to those further systems, every single time they did a little bit more work. By the time it got to the Switch now and the current consoles, this game looks almost like a current gen game. It is one of the best Resident Evil games in my opinion, and it has the best aesthetic on top of that. With everything so enclosed, they were able to really enhance the art style. With the graphics essentially being so old tech in that sense, they were really able to focus on things like performance and stability. This game runs almost perfectly flawlessly. The frame rate is 60 FPS almost consistently on every console. The game itself also has a great art style. As you can see here, the polygons aren't really too evident. I can go back and play this on the 3DS and it's still just as good. The thing that really amazes me is by the time it got to the Switch, how much work had been put in. So let's do number 8 now. Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. So back in the day, this game looked pretty jank, but I played it through on the Xbox 360, and I loved every minute of it. By the time it's come forward now to the current gen consoles, and with all of the annual updates and releases and everything else, all of the new content that's on it really enhances this game, and it allows it to function pretty well. No, it's not a 60 FPS experience on the Switch, it's still only 30, but it's a very good 30. It's nowhere near to what it was back in the day. Me and my daughter have both played this game fully through and have profiles with well into the hundreds of hours on each character, and neither of us have experienced anything to any of the issues or problems that I had back on the Xbox 360. So with that being said, I really think that this game is worthy of its name and is truly a good upgrade and enhancement. It deserves its place on this list. The only other thing I want to mention is that this game does have amiibo support, and the amiibo support is pretty cool for Breath of the Wild. You get the tunic, the shield, and the sword, and they do kind of enhance the adventure. I definitely had fun running around acting like Link in the Skyrim world. So, I think we should get into the next one, and it's a big number 7. Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core. Well, this game is kind of near and dear to me. I played this originally back on the PSP. This is a fantastic port and a really good remaster. It's not really something I expected Square Enix to do, but once again I'm very happy with it. No, it doesn't rank higher than a Chrono Cross or an Ogre Tactics Ogre in my opinion, but it certainly is a really good port, and they managed to make this old PSP game look pretty updated for the hardware that it's on. It almost looks as though it belongs on the Switch. One of the most interesting things about this game is its mission structure. Everything in the game looks like there's tons to do and tons of places to go, but they're all in tiny little bite-sized missions. So there's not really any free roaming or exploration to this game. It's really designed around simple combat and just finding out the story. Everything that occurs in this game is canon to the Final Fantasy VII universe, and I do recommend playing this if you want to enjoy that. It's on just about every console now, I think, and it's really worth the money. I really want to support Square Enix to get some of these other older games out, because I'll be honest, I would die for a Chrono Trigger right now. Let's get to number 6, SnowRunner. Well, I think this game originally started out on PC, and then made its way to PS4, and now is on Switch. The Switch port of this game is obviously not as good as either of those counterparts, but it is definitely a coherent and very, very capable version of that. I don't really ever play the multiplayer, so I can't really comment too much on the aspects on that, but the single player functions really well. As you can see here, I have my favorite truck, the Zex 605R, and I absolutely love this truck. I played for a long time to get it, and I can't really stop playing it now that I have that truck. This game has tons of DLC and tons of upgrades, tons of additions, tons to play, and they keep adding more and more. The port is left behind a little bit in terms of its other brothers, but it does get sufficient enough DLC to keep you going. I've personally bought all of it, and I've personally played most of it, but with hundreds and hundreds of hours of content, there's a lot to really keep you going in it. If you need a good truck sim or four-wheel driving sim on the Nintendo Switch, this is definitely the best game to play. I can't recommend it enough, and it is one of my favorite games of all time. Let's go to number 5 now, Dragon Quest XI. So although once again not being one of my favorite RPGs, it is definitely one of the best looking RPGs and best ports on the Switch. I believe that the Switch port is actually considered superior in some areas to the PS4 one, which is really kind of a rarity nowadays. I guess Square Enix really likes the Switch, and they put a lot of time and effort into this. I hope we get Dragon Quest X sometime soon, but I'm not really banking on it at this point. That game's been out for almost a decade now. With pretty much a timeless art style, and a frame rate and performance to match, this game looks absolutely gorgeous, functions well, and will do everything that you need it to. On top of that, the story is well written, and you should get lots of hours of enjoyment out of it. I personally, like I said, don't rate it as high as some of my other RPGs, but I definitely enjoyed the playthrough, and I highly recommend this game. If you like Akira Toriyama's art style, you can't go wrong with this. On top of that, the very traditional nature to this RPG will make you feel very comfortable and very at home. So, go ahead and give this one a try. It's pretty cheap nowadays. Well, let's get into the next one. Number 4, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Edition. So this game is basically what's considered the impossible port on the Switch. It's jam-packed onto a 32GB cartridge, and there is a small download if you want for performance and updates when you get the game. On top of that, the game is nowhere near its counterpart on the PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, Series X, any of that, but for what they're able to accomplish out of the Nintendo Switch, the game does look really good and functions really well. It has sort of a dynamic resolution and a dynamic frame rate, sort of like Breath of the Wild, to where the game will look really muddy and then turn around 1 second and look really good. Something you kind of get over with because the gameplay itself is really fun, and on top of that, the game is fluid. It's only a 30 FPS, but on top, it's very stable and you don't really have to worry too much unless you get into an area with a lot of enemies. Although not Nintendo's level of execution, this certainly does show off what optimization can do and a little bit of hard work when you actually want to get something to where you need to sell it. Let's get into number 3 now, Dark Souls. And I think this is probably one of the best ports I've ever played. Not because it keeps up with anything new or current, but because I played this on the Xbox 360, and that's one of the most janky games I think I've ever played in my life. This game is a massive upgrade from that. No, it's not 60 FPS, it's only 30 FPS. But it's a very, very stable 30 FPS, and when you're used to things like Blighttown running at 10 or 5 FPS, this game is a huge upgrade and enhancement to that. Not only that, but I can take this game on the go with me and it still manages a very consistent and stable frame rate. Out of all of the Dark Souls, this is definitely my favorite one. And if this is the only one that I get, which I'm thinking that at this point, they haven't offered 2 or 3, then I'll be okay with that. This game turned out to be really good and it got me hooked. I probably put about 200 hours into this version. And I'll be honest with you, if they brought me 2 and 3, they would get my money just because of the work that they did on this one. Well, I could go on and on about Dark Souls. So let's quit gushing about that and let's move on to our number 2 game, Dying Light, the Platinum Edition. So this game was pretty much my sleeper hit of last year. I was really impressed and surprised with this port. I didn't know what to expect, nor really was I looking forward to it, but when they announced it, and when I got it, I was really pleasantly surprised. This game runs really smoothly and functions really well. Techland did a fantastic job optimizing this for the Switch, and they didn't have to really hold anything or take much back. The game still feels like it's full, there are zombies everywhere, and there are large crowds of them everywhere. It's not like most other games on most Nintendo consoles, to be completely honest, where you see a zombie here or a zombie there. There are really truly huge hordes, and I absolutely love that. On top of that, the frame rate manages to stay stable, and the game gives you a very, very fluid ability of parkour. That parkour on top of that really enhances the experience. Like I said, this game was a sleeper hit for me, and I'm truly impressed at what they were able to accomplish. If we get the second Dying Light on that, that would be absolutely amazing. Well, with all of that, rounding out our top 9, I think we should dig into number 1 now. And my favorite port, Metroid Prime Remastered for the Nintendo Switch. And this is a port of a GameCube/Wii game. And this is definitely the best job I've ever seen in a port for any game, any console, any generation. This game is absolutely Nintendo's finest work, and I'm not sure if it was Retro Studios or what other support studios helped with this, but this is not shoddy work by any way, shape, or form. Nintendo broke the bank on this, in my opinion. I absolutely love everything they did with it, and they couldn't have changed anything for the better in this. This game is truly a testament to sticking with the basics and just making what you already have great just a little better. And I think a lot of studios could learn the lesson from this, that a lot of people enjoy their original games, and sometimes we just want to play a better looking version of their original game. And when a studio realizes this and they have a gem on their hands such as Metroid Prime, they can really hit it out of the park. The game's audio, control, art style, performance, you name it, they absolutely nail everything. And this is, to me, the best port, the best example of a port, and the best port on the Nintendo Switch, all rolled up into one to top out my list. This has definitely been a fun list to make, and I enjoy a lot of the ports that have come to the Nintendo Switch. Sometimes it's hard to sort out the best, but this was definitely the best. Well, thank you for watching this video. It was a blast to make. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. And have yourself a great day. This is Ogre 27 Kane, signing out.